So we've got a short class here focusing on the hips, and you'll need a couple of blankets, maybe a couple of yoga blocks if you've got them. Otherwise, the blankets will do just fine. And there is an option to do some of the practice or all of the practice on a chair. So if you do want to have a chair to hand, just grab that. And we'll begin starting in mountain pose, whether you're standing or seated. And then taking the arms up overhead and then coming forwards into a forward fold. So as you inhale, we're taking the arms up, exhaling as you fold forwards to wherever is comfortable for you. Getting the connection of the movement with the breath in this familiar hinging at the hips. Of course, you can take this seated. And again, just bringing yourself to a level that feels comfortable. If we've got anything going on with the sinuses, the eyes, or blood pressure, we'll keep the head in line with the spine. Otherwise, we've got a softness in the neck and a heaviness in the head. So now we will start to lift one leg, and you can lift the knee to wherever feels comfortable. Starting to take some circling motions with the knee and the hip. Don't worry about the spine or anything else apart from keeping that standing leg nice and steady. And then repeating the same on the other side. So finding your steadiness with the standing leg and getting the mobility now in the other hip. You can take the circles as big or as small as you like. You can also take this movement whilst you are sat on the chair. So now we're going to come back over to that first leg, lifting the knee. And then internally rotating the knee, pushing that outer edge of the foot up to the side. And then externally rotating the knee. Imagine you've got somebody pushing on the inside of the foot. So we're going to do that again. Option to do this seated. So just moving to a range that feels within your comfort. Taking a pause to come back to the breath. Lifting the other leg, internally rotating the knee, pushing that outer edge of the foot to the side, and then externally rotating the knee, bringing that inner edge of the foot up, imagining that you've got an opposing force. Then we're just going to shake it all off. Maybe just coming back to the breath in the body. Coming into Tadasana, maybe standing, maybe seated. Taking the arms up and then leaning over to one side. So just getting some lateral movement in the spine, this feeling of space along the side of the body. So as you inhale, maybe leaning to one side, maybe taking the opposite wrist with the other hand. And a gentle encouragement, so we're not tugging or pulling. Taking a wide leg stance. Coming into Virabhadrasana 2 position. So as you're moving in and out, taking a bend in the front leg, just checking the position of the feet. So the foot at the top, toes are going towards the top of the mat, and the foot at the back, just bringing the toes in on an angle. Option to take this seated. That same positioning of the feet, maybe sitting on a block or a blanket or a couple. If you feel you need that extra height. And we're taking a bend in the elbow that's going to rest on the knee. Spaciousness along both sides, across the collarbone, then lifting that other arm over. Returning the spine to neutral. As we inhale, we're sweeping that arm over as we rest the other elbow onto the bent knee. So the legs are staying as they are, even if you are standing, and we've just got this side opening, feeling the connection from the fingertips all the way along the body to the sole of the foot. Returning back to neutral. Bringing the toes so that they're facing that long side of the mat, and then coming to the other side. So now the other foot, we've got the toes towards the top of the mat. Toes of the back foot are in on an angle. Just moving in and out, finding your steady position as you start to take a bend in the arm that's going to rest over the front leg. Space across the collarbones, and then sweeping the arm over. Exhaling as you return the spine to neutral, keeping the legs as they are. Inhaling, sweeping that arm over. Exhaling as you return. And then as you land in this extended angle Parsvakonasana, taking a pause, maybe taking the gaze underneath the armpit. And then bringing yourself back up to a wide leg stance, toes facing the long side of the mat. And then just heel toeing the feet back together. Now coming into Virabhadrasana 1. So taking the back foot so that it's in a little bit more towards the top of the mat. And you can have as much distance as you like between the feet. As we start to bend into that front knee, we're bringing the opposite arm up. So with each inhalation, we're bending the knee and the opposite arm reaches up. Then we'll take a pause, bring the other hand to join. Returning to the breath. Exhaling as you lower the arms. And then stepping either the back foot to the front or the front to the back. And we'll switch sides now, just finding your placement. And then starting to bend that front knee as you lift the opposite arm towards the ceiling. So keeping the spine nice and long. And not forgetting to keep some weight in the back foot as well. So rather than leaning the body weight forwards as you bring that other arm up, resting, finding ease, and then lowering the arms, stepping the feet together. Maybe a natural roll of the shoulders. As we return to Tadasana and to the steadiness of your breath, the steadiness of the ground beneath your feet. Now as we make our way towards the ground, coming into forward fold, just stepping back with one leg and lowering the knee. We're going to bring that other foot forward a little bit. And if you're taking the chair variation, we're going to lower one knee and just take that foot underneath the chair. You can have the toes tucked or maybe untucked, whichever feels best for you. And as we come into this lunge position, maybe taking a blanket or an extra bit of comfort underneath the knee. And we're just going to walk that front foot forwards a tiny bit, maybe a little bit more if that feels okay. Just making sure you feel steady in your hips. And we're just getting a gentle opening now along the hip of the back leg. Make sure that there's no pinching in the lower spine. And just bringing that front foot back a little if it feels uncomfortable. And allow yourself to be arranged in a way so that the pelvis and the spine both feel at ease. So maybe having the toes tucked, maybe untucked, whichever's the most stable for you. And then we're going to bring both arms ahead, palms facing each other. Whichever leg is at the front, we're going to open the arms out to the opposite way. So as we inhale, we're just opening out that opposite arm to whichever is the opposite to the leg at the front. As we inhale, we're opening and allowing the gaze to follow the hand. Exhaling as you return. Then inhaling as the arms come up. Exhaling as you twist now to the opposite side, allowing the hands to float down. Maybe taking the gaze over the shoulder as you look behind. And then inhaling, bringing the hands back up as the spine comes back into neutral. Lowering both hands to the inside of the front foot and bringing that leg back into tabletop. And we'll just switch legs if we are taking this in the chair. So now bringing that other foot forwards, maybe bringing it a little bit more, so that you can find a point that feels comfortable along the hip of the back leg. Again, maybe tucking the toes, maybe untucking the toes, whichever's the most stable. As we inhale, arms coming out ahead. And then we'll open out the arm, which is the opposite to the leg that's in front. So if you have the right leg in front, we're opening out to the left, allowing the gaze to follow the hand. Then inhaling as the arms come up towards the sky. Exhaling as you twist into the opposite side now. So into the side where the front leg is. Allowing the hands to settle, maybe taking the gaze over the shoulder towards the back. Then inhaling, bringing the hands back up. As you lower, placing the hands to the inside of the front foot, bringing the foot back into tabletop and then into any variation of child's pose. Maybe the hands come behind you, maybe they're extended out in front, maybe placing one hand on top of the other, placing any supports underneath you need. Or if you're taking this variation in the chair, either keeping the head in line with the spine or allowing yourself to round and let the head be heavy. And then coming back up into tabletop. Or bringing yourself back up to a seated position in the chair. Having your blocks or blankets to hand, bringing one leg forwards as you externally rotate the knee and allow the leg to rest underneath the chest. Placing your blocks or blankets underneath the hip of the leg that you have brought forwards. So the back leg is staying straight out behind you. And untucking the toes. Making sure that there's no discomfort in the knee. Having more height if you need to. More blankets or blocks. Just noticing how that feels along the hip of the back leg that's extended, making sure there's no pinching in the lower spine. So you can either be on the hands, maybe on the fingertips, maybe hands resting on blocks. And just making sure we've got a lengthening in the spine. If it doesn't feel so nice along the back of the pelvis, you can come forwards, maybe resting onto the elbows. And then as you come out of this shape, we'll bring the hands forward, finding that support, tucking the toe of the back leg, and then bringing yourself back into tabletop. Coming on to the other side, so bringing that opposite leg forwards, maybe placing the blankets underneath. Maybe you need more on this side. And a couple of options if we're taking this seated. You can bring one leg to rest the ankle on top of the knee. Or you can use folded blankets or blocks or cushions, whatever you have, to create a bit of height, and just place them on the outer edge of one foot. And then we'll lift the opposite leg and allow the outer edge of that ankle to rest on your blocks or blankets. And then the option to take the other leg back underneath the chair so that you can connect to the hip of that back leg. So then finding that support in the hands, tucking the toes of the back foot as you come out of pigeon pose, making your way into Balasana, child's pose. Taking a few breaths here. And of course, taking this option in the chair by folding forwards. Returning to the movement of the breath in the body. Inhaling as you come back up into tabletop. And just taking your blocks and blankets to the side. Just returning to a seated position if we're in the chair, and making your way into constructed rest if you are lying down. The legs are together, ankles together. Place your blankets, cushions or blocks just to the outer edges of the hips, tucked in quite close so that you can feel the support. Having the hands out to the side, we'll start to allow the knees to float away from each other towards the ground, bringing the soles of the feet so that they are connected. And just allowing yourself to be in this Baddha Konasana, which is butterfly pose. We've got the blankets or blocks to support the hips, just to ensure that we aren't in the end range of this movement in the hip. So you can rest here for the next few moments. You can stay here for a little longer if you like. Just reconnecting to your breath, allowing yourself to become more effortless. And if we're taking this variation in the chair, you can take the same concept. We'll bring the soles of the feet together. You can either have the feet resting on a blanket or a cushion for a bit of extra comfort. And then you can also bring either the cushions or folded blankets, placing them to the outer edges of the hips as you would lying down. So just creating that extra bit of support and allowing the knees to float out to the side, keeping the spine nice and long. So returning to the breath as many times as you need. And then bringing yourself back to constructed rest if you're lying down, extending the legs out into Shavasana, or you can stay in constructed rest if that feels better for you. Allowing the hands to come out to the side, palms facing up. Taking a seated Shavasana, if that feels better for you, using the support of your chair. Whenever you're ready, making your way to any comfortable seated position. As you take these final few conscious breaths before continuing with your day.